I have been living with HIV for the past 7 years, and when I got my results, it was a very sort of confronting moment because of how the results were given to me. I've said this a few times. It was given to me by a lab technician in sort of a corridor of a hospital, in the most sort of unexpected way. I then visited and saw a doctor who gave me a confirmation test, and that was also not a very pleasant experience because she did make me feel judged because she commented saying that if when you do sort of naughty things, this is what happens to you. It took me some time, about say a year and a half, to come to terms with my status. And I started sort of opening up in small circles about my status. That then led to a social media sort of harassment situation and bullying on social media, with my picture, my address, my phone numbers being published and put out there for people as a warning sign of to keep away from me and this person who's sort of spreading AIDS. All of that culminated for me to look back at my life and wonder I if I was in the right sector. Was I really contributing back towards society? And was I happy selling full cream milk powder? Or did I want to do something about this? That's when I reached out to a couple of organizations, and I initially started working at an LGBT organization. Every year, new HIV cases, when we do look at their immune system, or the CD4 count, it is at a fairly low level, and that nearly 50% of people who are newly diagnosed have been living with HIV for um, several years. So, a, a challenge that countries like ours have had, and also countries like Sri Lanka still do have, is the criminalization of same-sex conduct. And what that has done is it has caused this institutionalized stigma, and also an internal stigma among people, because we understand that there is a disproportionate risk of uh, gay, bisexual men uh, sort of uh, contracting HIV, and that is something that we have to accept. It's created barriers for people to come out and take ownership of their sexual health, because when you do come for services and have to disclose your sexual behavior, you are essentially sort of disclosing a criminalized behavior, and that does not go sort of, people are very uncomfortable to do that, and that causes a big barrier in terms of getting people into services. And in countries like Sri Lanka, the system of HIV response is centralized, so you are then coming into government-led services and then agreeing that you have been engaging in criminal activity and seeking for healthcare services, and that has not been very practical. We've understood that there is a hidden community of, I mean, in HIV terms, men who have sex with men, who are also, some of them are part of the gay and bisexual community, who we are unable to reach because of these reasons. Lucky enough, in Sri Lanka, over the past couple of years, activists have um, gotten or managed to get decriminalization as an important milestone in the National Strategic Plan for the HIV response. However, you have to understand that the people who are implementing this are cisgender, heterosexual, um, often conservative, and sort of do not necessarily see the importance of it, even though it is part of their job and part of the work that they need to do. So these are sort of these unique challenges that we have in terms of effectively providing services to the LGBT community. Countries like Sri Lanka, even with such a low prevalence, we tend to sort of measure our own progress against ourselves. And I think that as great as it is to understand that we have improved over the past 5 years, over the past decade, it still is important as a global response to look at ourselves against what we could be achieving against what is happening in the region, what is happening globally. It also is important to understand what countries that are having similar conditions as ours, similar challenges as ours, are doing in the region in order to mitigate that. And knowledge sharing among countries would definitely sort of help us not reinvent the wheel in countries like ours who keep struggling to sort of allocate resources. And that would, I think, really sort of help us manage the limited amount of resources that we have in the right directions. Opening up these conversations with young people about sexual health, about access to sexual health related services, opening up conversations about what it means to have consensual relationships is the right step forward in addressing some of the challenges that we face.